but I'm here with Alex Katson, chief audiologist at Wide Left. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Katson is technically the COO. He has written 5 articles for Wide Left.
Certainly a handful of articles.
Yeah, no, definitely some articles. One of which I continue to fail to submit for awards.
What's up with that?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It seems like a lot of work. I gotta find the link. That's it. That's the whole.
I already sent you one that we can submit it for. I sent you the link. You don't even have to find it.
I gotta scroll up in our Slack chat then. That sounds like work too.
It's okay. The submissions aren't even open yet. I'll just send it to you again when they open.
Yeah, that makes sense. He also, relevantly for this podcast, he also writes for Chargers Wire. Yeah, man. How about them Chargers? How's that? Are they alive?
Questionably, just as I am questionably alive. I am a little bit under the weather, which is appropriate for how this game is about to go. Because neither team, it seems like, has any healthy players on it, which is cool and good. And I think it's going to make for a very good and quality NFL football game.
Yeah, this is the kind of the reason that you want to hold them on Thursday night. I think it's like a game like this is quintessentially the appeal of Thursday night football.
Right. Yeah, it's important that this is an island game so that the entire country is subjected to this, whatever this is about to be.
Hell yeah. All right, let's talk about the Chargers roster. Let's start with the offense. So it seems like I think a lot of people kind of expected that when Harbaugh took over the team, that there would be like a reduction in passing attempts from Herbert, who had like a ton his rookie year. It's supposed to be like a run forward offense. They grabbed a running back, right? So it seems, but like he's been throwing the ball like a lot, even in games where like they win, right? Like by a lot. Is that just like you have Herbert, so you just got to have him throw the ball a lot? Like, what is the shape of this offense? What's the philosophy?
Yeah, so, we did get that reduction in pass attempts from Herbert last season. But then, as it turns out, Amarian Hampton and Najee Harris are both on injured reserve now. And Hassan Haskins is actually out this week, which means that all 3 running backs that the Chargers kept on their initial 53-man roster are not going to play on Thursday, which is good. I think that's probably a positive for them. And so a lot of it has just been like, you're sort of just defined by your circumstances. I mean, Najee Harris blew his eye out on 4th of July.
Well, he says that hasn't affected his eyesight at all, which that's got to be a lie, right?
Right. I would assume so. But also, he didn't practice for all of training camp, but then was limited in week 1 and then tore his Achilles in week 2. So, even if it didn't limit his eyesight, it probably did limit the shape that he was in. And now he's out for the season. So, that's how that goes. And then Amarian Hampton was getting a decent amount of work before he suffered his own ankle injury that now he's on injured reserve for. But really, it sort of just comes down to Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman think that Justin Herbert is the best player on the field at all times. And most of the time they are right about that. And Herbert is kind of paying that faith back this season. So they've just decided that they're just going to throw the ball on every down now.
Very Brandon Staley of them.
Crazy, yeah.
All roads lead back.
Shout out Joe Lombardi.
So what is kind of the operating design philosophy of the passing game then, right? Because when Greg Roman was the offensive coordinator in Baltimore, he had a ton of criticism for the way that he designed their passing game. It wasn't very creative. It wasn't sequenced very well. And I just kind of want to know, does that criticism kind of track forward here? And also, Herbert had a hot start to his year, right? It seems like it has kind of declined a little bit. The offensive line is missing, which is important context. Is that more a product of the injuries or maybe kind of question marks about the way the offense is designed?
Yeah, I think it's both. My buddy Stephen Hagland, who I do the Guilty as Charged podcast with occasionally, I do their draft content, but Stephen is actually covering the team week to week with Tyler Schoen. He has tweeted previously that Greg Roman has 3 passing plays in this offense, and I think that that's pretty accurate. I would maybe say there might be a 4th one that we have yet to unlock, but there's certainly
put
not
enough
very many
experience points in the other 3 before it, shimmers gold and then becomes available.
Right, yeah, you kind of do have to unlock Will Dissly is not dead and Tucker Fisk is not dead and Scott Matlock is not dead, and you get them through one healthy game together, and then you unlock the 4th passing play, which is tight end flat to Scott Matlock. But in the meantime, the offense has been pretty basic. I would say a lot of that does have to do with the fact of the offensive line is not capable of protecting anything that lasts longer than 2 to 3 seconds. And so you are seeing a lot more quick game. Actually, that's been sort of a nice thing the last 2 weeks, is that Greg Roman has learned that wide receiver screens are something that you can call. And so he has gotten the XP to unlock wide receiver screens to Trey Harris, which is pretty sick.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's just sort of they're basing a lot of the pass game out of play action still, which is weird because they're running the ball 10 times a game. And obviously you don't actually have to hand the ball off in order to set up play action. This is a well discussed analytic point over the last few years. But also you have to hand the ball off sometimes. Right. And they're just not doing that. And so instead they're just sort of running play action, and then Justin Herbert is getting tackled as he throws a 3-yard drag route to Ladd McConkey. And that's the majority of the offense right now. Occasionally, once in a blue moon, if it gets to 3rd down, Keenan Allen and his 4.9 40 are open. It doesn't matter how long the 3rd down is, or what the concept is, or what the route is, or how long Justin Herbert has to throw. Keenan Allen is open and he catches it for a 1st down. He's done it approximately 800 million times this season. So that's a pretty cool feature of the offense, is that Keenan Allen is just sort of eternal after not being signed until July because Mike Williams retired and went to Italy. And then recently we've gotten some vertical passing game out of Arande Gadsden II, who had 160 yards against the Colts, primarily because Justin Herbert threw the ball 55 times. And so there is a little bit of a vertical element, but it's mostly just a go ball to Quentin Johnston or a seam ball to Arande Gadsden. And that's pretty much the extent of the verticality of the passing offense. They would like to throw more intermediate crossing routes to Ladd McConkey if possible. But that is not a feature of the offense currently, because by the time Ladd McConkey crosses to the other side of the hash, Justin Herbert is being swallowed by 3 defenders simultaneously. And so instead, those balls are mostly going to Kamani Vidal out of the flat.
One of the pieces that you wrote at Wide Left was actually about Justin Herbert, and if he's the question was that he's elite or that he's good? Elite.
The question was if he's elite.
Yeah. Are we? I mean, obviously he's running a video game offense, but is he?
I think that Justin Herbert is like the most underrated MVP candidate in the league right now. And my perception is
name the MVP candidates, because I feel like it's an all underrated lineup at the moment.
Well, I just mean that like we're not talking about Justin Herbert as an MVP candidate as much as we should, despite him like playing the way that he is. Like obviously, like the MVP candidates of like Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold and like those types of guys, like
Daniel
it is
Jones.
sort of an
come on.
Yeah, Daniel Jones. You're right. Yeah. Like that whole group is like obviously like, we're kind of like waiting for the other shoe to drop with two of those guys, and then also it's like, hey, Baker is cool. Where did he?
Yeah,
learn
Baker's
how to do
cool
that?
and doesn't have receivers. So let's see how.
Yeah,
that goes.
and so like, how is he still doing that? And also like, is he gonna keep doing that? Like, I think that like that's more of a question with Baker Mayfield versus like Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones. I think that like most of the people that we know that we talk to frequently are pretty like confident that like eventually like one of them is going to have the Sam Darnold or Daniel Jones game and like probably like tank the season in the process. But yeah, I mean, like, I think that like we are not talking about like Justin Herbert as the MVP as much as we maybe should be, because we have all of these other like, you know, more compelling storylines of like, you know, all of these comeback type stories that are kind of the MVP frontrunners currently. I think you could even put Dak Prescott in that category too. But this offense is essentially just going out there every week and asking Justin Herbert to like dig them out of every hole possible. Like the offensive line is being staffed by like offensive tackle 6 and 7. Mekhi Becton has not finished a game since week 2, or something like that. I think it's either week 2 or week 5. I think Zion Johnson and Bradley Bozeman have played every offensive snap, but they're bad. I mean, Bradley Bozeman has been bad. Zion Johnson is a good run blocker, but he's been kind of up and down in pass protection. And so, you know, you have no offensive line, essentially. Quentin Johnson misses a game with a hamstring injury. Your third down security blanket is a 34-year-old Keenan Allen that, as mentioned, can't run. He's walking routes out there and still getting open somehow. You haven't figured out who plays tight end until like 2 weeks ago. The defense is the worst in the league by EPA per play from week 5 onward. And Justin Herbert is just going out there and keeping them in games. And they're just asking him like, hey, man, there's nothing else on this team right now. Do you think you could fix that for us real quick? Do you think you could go do something? And, you know, against the Broncos, he goes out and does something. Against the Dolphins, he goes out and does something. You know, like he breaks that sack against Jalen Phillips against the Dolphins and hits Ladd McConkey on that route. And, you know, suddenly the Chargers win that game. And the tenor of the Chargers season is significantly different than it was, you know, for the first 58 minutes of that game.
I feel like that was a fork in the road for both teams, right? Because like it was that game where the Dolphins just gave up, right? Like after that game.
Yeah. I mean, like the Dolphins certainly just sort of like gave up against the Browns this past week. And so like, I think that this is, you know, I think you could maybe argue that the Panthers game the week before was the turning point for the Dolphins, where it was like, all right, like this is game over. But also like the Chargers game is the one where then Tua did the thing about like people are not showing up to players only meetings and like, you know, started like kind of talking out both sides of his mouth a little bit. So in that sense, I do think it was probably the turning point for the Dolphins. And certainly it felt like a turning point for the Chargers, right? Because like if you lose that game, you drop to 3-3. You don't really know when you're getting a lot of these pieces back. And suddenly after going 3-0 to open the season against all AFC West opponents, like you're 500, you probably still lose that game to the Colts. And so all of a sudden you're sub 500 going into this Thursday night game. Like it was an important win to get. And Justin Herbert went out and got it because like they said, like, you're the only one that can do this. And that's the way that they've operated all season. Like I said, at the top, like Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman believe that Justin Herbert is the best player on the field 100% of the time that he is on the field. And 95% of the time they have been correct about that this season. But football is an 11-person sport on both sides. And the other 10 players on the Chargers have, you know, contributed varying from, you know, like kind of okay to like Austin Deculus.
These D&D names, dude. I do want to talk a little bit about Kamani Vidal, who I think was like a draft Twitter favorite last year. I don't fully recall, but like that was like a thing. And then he went off for like 100+ yards 2 weeks ago. I'm not like you. Like he already did not make the initial 53. I'm not confident that there's anything there. Or am I wrong? Should I? He had great next gen like miles per hour stats, but like
he's real fast.
Yeah. Should the Vikings be like concerned about this?
Maybe. Like
okay. That's more than most guys who don't make a roster get. I like this.
Yeah. So I mean, like I was a Kamani Vidal guy as a member of Draft Twitter. Last year I was a Kamani Vidal stan. I would say, he was sick at Troy, but also like it's Troy, right? And so like you don't really know what you're getting. Spent most of last season just sort of buried on the bench. He did have a sick wheel route touchdown last year. That was his first NFL touchdown. And then this season, right, it just like a lot of it just comes down to like Kamani Vidal can't pass block and Hassan Haskins can. And that's why he didn't make the 53-man roster. But now every other running back on the Chargers is dead. And so like here comes Kamani Vidal again. And like the Dolphins' run defense is bad. Like, I don't want anyone to get it twisted. Like, the Dolphins' run defense is pretty bad. Like, I think they're 26th by EPA so far this season. But also, like, the Chargers are at their best when they are able to get runs to the perimeter. That's what they want to do in this run game, which is weird. It seems kind of antithetical to a Jim Harbaugh, Greg Roman team, that they want to get the ball to the perimeter. Like, you would think that they want to just like run it between the tackles, but really, if they do that, like, they can't generate any push. The only successful gap that they've found on the interior is like the B gap between Mekhi Becton and whatever cardboard cutout is playing right tackle that week. Anything else?
No. Wait, we learned that the Chargers were spectacular up the A gap recently.
That's true. We did learn via our favorite AI agent tool that we profiled extensively on Wide Left, very positively and flowery, that the Chargers are actually the best team in the league on A-gap runs because all 4 of them have been QB sneaks.
Yeah, so watch out for that.
Yeah, so watch out for the QB sneak on Thursday. But yeah, Zion Johnson and Bradley Bozeman, like I said, like all of the run stats to the left A gap, the left B gap, even the right A gap where Bradley Bozeman is like an important part of that play. They have generated like a negative EPA per play. Like, I think it's at CSV Enjoyer that posts those graphs on Twitter every week.
Great name.
All of those arrows for the Chargers are orange, which is bad. But if you look at like the one that is the most green, it's running it outside the left tackle. And so like they want to get these guys to the perimeter. That's what they were trying to do with Marion Hampton when he was healthy. And really, Kamani Vidal is at his best when he can get into space because he is tiny. He's like 5'8", 195 pounds or something like that. That might be a slight exaggeration, but it's not like a big exaggeration. He's not a very big guy. And now, with Hassan Haskins out this week, you also have an RB2 of Nyheim Hines, who is also not very big, and an RB3 potentially, if they elevate someone else from the practice squad, of either Travion Williams, who is pretty big, Jarrett Patterson, who is like notably small, or Amar Johnson, who is like regular size, but also is a rookie UDFA who has never played an NFL game, but was like kind of good for the Packers in the preseason. So that's...
You've like a Goldilocks set of practice squad running backs? Is that what I just heard?
Yeah, they're kind of trying to get like a Russian nesting doll set of practice squad running backs just to cover all their bases. It seems like they were missing the like jumbo size guy with Travion Williams, but they signed him yesterday, so now they have the whole set.
4 running backs on the practice squad is crazy.
It's diabolical. And Kamani Vidal was on the practice squad like 2 weeks ago. Like. This is a team entirely staffed by practice squad running backs. I don't even know if they're going to have 3 running backs for this game because they might still need to elevate an offensive lineman off the practice squad. Like, they might not be able to elevate 2 running backs off of the practice squad to play.
Incredible. So even if there was like an emergency 3rd running back rule where you could have one inactive, it wouldn't help because you still need to activate them.
Right, yeah, like they would still need to be elevated, like the same way that the emergency 3rd quarterback rule works. Like they would still need to be elevated to the active roster, and I don't even know if they're capable of doing that this week.
Incredible. Well, I hope Kamani Vidal stays healthy. That's nuts, dude.
Yeah,
is it like does Scott Matlock run the ball? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, right? Like, I don't really know. Like, I think, like, I mean, if Kamani Vidal gets injured, then, like, you're down to Nyheim Hines, whose leg is notably mangled from a jet ski incident in 2023. He does appear to be fine. I feel like there's got to be, like, some kind of theme here, right? Because, like, the jet ski and then 4th of July fireworks. Right.
It's just, this is, okay.
The Chargers running back should be banned from celebrating holidays. Like, we should only sign Jehovah's Witnesses at running back for the Chargers. I think that would probably be a more effective strategy for them. But I'm not the GM, so what do I know?
Right, of course.
But yeah, if Kamani Vidal gets injured, it's jet ski accident survivor Nyheim Hines at running back. And then, like I said, like I don't even know if they're going to be able to elevate a 3rd guy. So then, like, if Nyheim Hines like needs a break, then like it's either Scott Matlock or probably just like running jet sweeps to Darius Davis, the kick returner, who's back from a knee injury. Otherwise, like, I don't know. I guess you could hand the ball to like Keandre Lambert-Smith, maybe. But I don't even know if he's going to be active. He was a healthy scratch last week.
Wasn't he like the big deal? Like, let's talk about receivers now. Wasn't he like the big deal like 4 weeks ago?
Yeah, he was really good in training camp and in the preseason, and then they got to the regular season where the games counted, and it turns out that he can't line up correctly, and so and he's also not a very good kick returner, and so the utility of having him on the active roster, like the game day roster, is sort of small. Because every time that he's on the field, he is getting an illegal formation penalty for being lined up off the ball. So instead, they have Trey Harris, who they did draft 3 rounds earlier than Keandre Lambert-Smith, but didn't get as much pop over the offseason because he was like working as the backup X to Quentin Johnston, while Keandre Lambert-Smith was like doing backup Z stuff. So he was doing like more stuff in training camp because Keenan Allen wasn't on the team yet.
Right.
And that was just because like they were trying to train Trey Harris to do more of that traditional X stuff, because like that is theoretically like what they're going to want him to do eventually when he does like play. But now they're kind of like flip-flopping it a little bit, and now Trey Harris is playing Z and Keandre Lambert-Smith is playing inactive. Right. And so,
a noble position.
Right, yeah. And so, like, I don't really know. I mean, Trey Harris has been good when he's gotten on the field. He's their best run blocker as a receiver, which is, like, a small thing, but also, like,
right.
When you want to run the ball to the perimeter as much as the Chargers do, like, it is, like, a notable thing that, like, when he's on the field, he's probably going to be run blocking because, like, that's what he's good at in this room right now. Keenan Allen is like a decent run blocker. He's also like 80 million years old. We kind of talked about his impact. And then Quentin Johnston is like a real NFL player now, which is
this
cool.
is great because I have written a number of Chargers articles for some reason.
Right.
And one of them
the famous fill-in for Michael Peterson's paternity leave.
Right. Yeah. Well known. And part of my renown has been a piece that I wrote where I was like, hey, can Quentin Johnston like do this? Can he like turn his career around? Which is not actually a phrasing that the commentariat loved because they're like, I don't know about around.
Right. Turning your career around does sort of imply that like it was in a positive place at some point.
Right. Yeah. And so I looked at the evidence of like first round receivers and like when they didn't do well their first 2 years and kind of what that looks like for their third year. And it was real bad. It was like 10% of receivers turned into something meaningful. And he's in the 10%. This is like the first 2 games where he popped off. I was like, well, that's fake. Good for him, but like, no way. He kept going.
Yeah, I don't really know what. I mean, I do sort of know what's up, which is that like they're using him more efficiently than they were the first 2 years that he was on the roster, where like Quentin Johnston is at his best when you kind of get him the ball underneath or like in the like low intermediate areas of the field and let him work after the catch. His first 2 seasons, the Chargers were mostly just like using him as like a pure X receiver that was like running digs and stuff. And that's not really what he's good at. They have also been like putting him on way more go balls downfield, which is like good because he is fast, but it is weird that they've decided to do that now because like he is notably like not a good contested catch receiver. Like that's kind of the whole thing about Quentin Johnston, but he's been like fine at it this season. And you know, like he's been like their most effective receiver in the red zone. They've been a very, very bad red zone offense, but he's been their most effective receiver when they do get down there. And overall, like he's been a serviceable NFL player. Like he's on pace for 1,000 yards right now. And
so wild,
you know, like it's crazy, but like, you know, he's been good. Like he's good at everything suddenly. Like he's catching the ball even. It's crazy.
It's so wild. But yeah, no, let's talk about like the real big heavy hitter here, Ladd McConkey. He rules, right? It wasn't just like a rookie year thing.
Yeah, he's sick. His production has dipped a little bit this year, but that's partly a function of like Keenan Allen is Justin Herbert's favorite player on earth. You know, he was his security blanket for the first 3 years of his career. Right. He's now the security blanket again this season. And so like a lot of those like third down targets that were going to Ladd McConkey last year as a rookie, kind of out of necessity because they didn't have any other receivers on the team, are now going to Keenan Allen. And so Ladd has kind of like taken a drop in production in that way. And also just like a lot of the stuff that McConkey does well has been behind a paywall for the Chargers this season.
They need more V-Bucks.
Yeah, like the Chargers want to get McConkey on a lot of these like intermediate deep crossing routes. He runs those really effectively. He's a really good receiver over the middle of the field in that way. But they can't protect Justin Herbert long enough for any of those routes to develop. And so there's a lot of instances where like they try to run that play and Justin Herbert ends up taking the check down or, throwing it out of a sack or getting sacked because the offensive line just crumbles immediately. And so you can't get the ball to McConkey in that way. And, they've kind of made him play Z a little bit more this season because they have Keenan Allen. And Keenan Allen is doing his thing out of the slot. And so it has like changed up like his usage a little bit. But he's still a very good NFL player. Like he's still a very good receiver. It's just like the production hasn't necessarily matched like what his talent level is through the first like 7 weeks of the season so far.
And then we did touch on the offensive line. Just wanted to like get some specific names out there. So Trey Pipkins is hurt, which feels like addition by subtraction, but then they had to sign Bobby Hart, which we'll talk about in a second.
That's correct.
Joe Alt is out. He's not going to be in this game, right?
He said that the plan is for him to play.
Okay.
I think he's going to play. How much he will play? Different question.
Right.
How limited he will be? Different question. But I think he is planning on playing.
But okay, good for him, man. That's great news. Yeah. And then you got if he doesn't play or if he has to leave partway through the game, you've got noted Orc Barbarian Austin Deculus. And I don't this is Bobby Hart's one of the worst NFL players I think you could sign. Not because he's the worst tackle ever, although he's not great at it, but it's all downside, and his off-field is crazy, which we don't have to get into, but he is a conspiracy theorist who defended Deshaun Jackson. Like, I just want to put that out there, right? And it's like, okay, if you're, and I hate to say it like this, but it's like if you're an elite left tackle, right? If you're doing Joe Thomas stuff and you say, hey, they treated my boy Deshaun Jackson wrong when he posted the anti-Semitism stuff. As a football team, most football teams will figure out how to live with that. But Bobby Hart is not, notably Joe Thomas.
The NBA notably did figure that out with Kyrie Irving like pretty quickly.
Right, yeah.
But like Myers Leonard never played another NBA game after saying the slur on Twitch.
Right. Yeah. So like, that's where the Chargers are at with Bobby Hart.
Right. Yeah. By the way, Austin Deculus is also questionable for this game with an ankle injury. So,
what?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. The Chargers have 4 offensive linemen on the injury report for this game.
Also, offensive lineman number 7 is also okay. This is like a very Vikings of 2 weeks ago situation.
Right. Yeah. So you are sort of down to like if Joe Alt doesn't play and also Austin Deculus doesn't play, you are probably playing a limited Jamari Sawyer, who is also technically questionable for this game, despite logging full participation in all 3 practices this week. He is probably going to start at left tackle, and then Bobby Hart will start at right tackle if Trey Pipkins can't play. Which is good. I think that that's a normal offensive line to have, because that's only like their 5th and 8th options at offensive tackle, I think.
Jamari Sawyer has played tackle before, though, right?
Yeah, he like very notably played left tackle very well when Rashawn Slater got injured a few years ago. Since then, he has not been good at playing tackle, but he was a couple years ago. And so maybe he gets you something, but he's also dealing with a knee injury.
Man, remember Rashawn Slater? Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
What a blast from the past.
What a crazy player that used to be. Too bad he is no longer of this earth. So yeah, just like to go over the offensive line, just like for people that are not like extremely familiar. The Chargers are going to play a grand total of 0 snaps with their intended starting 5 on the offensive line because Rashawn Slater, may he rest in peace, tore his patellar tendon during training camp. So the Chargers had to move Joe Alt over to left tackle. Trey Pipkins slides in at right tackle.
Which notably, Joe Alt has played a ton of left tackle in his career. Like
yes,
in
Joe Alt was a college left tackle. There was actually a whole discussion about like whether or not he was going to be able to move to right tackle. I asked him a question about it at the combine because it was such a point of contention amongst Chargers fans that were picking that year of like, well, we want to take Marvin Harrison Jr. or we want to take Malik Neighbors because like Joe Alt isn't going to be able to play right tackle and we already have a left tackle. No, turns out he's good.
So and you didn't have a left tackle. You didn't know it yet. But.
Right, exactly. And so now actually it's worked out. So Joe Alt slides over to left tackle where he's like been good and played before. Trey Pipkins comes back in at right tackle, which is where he was better. He played right guard last season and was pretty bad, but played right tackle in 2023 and got an extension with the team because he played like reasonably well, which was also part of the calculus in taking the Joe Alt, doing the Joe Alt pick and everything, yada, yada, yada. So Trey Pipkins slides back over to right tackle. And then in week 1, right guard Mekhi Becton comes down with a mystery illness like 24 hours before the game in Brazil, and only plays about half the snaps. So Jamari Sawyer comes in at right guard. So now you're down to left tackle 2, right tackle 2, right guard 2 for half the game. And then in week 3, Joe Alt sprains his ankle, and so Austin Deculus comes in. They traded for Austin Deculus right before the 53-man roster deadline because they didn't have a swing tackle anymore since Rashawn Slater was dead. Right. So Austin Deculus comes in. You're now at left tackle 3, right tackle 2, and right guard 2 when Mekhi Becton is kind of in and out of the lineup. Mm-hmm. Trey Pipkins gets injured in week 4 with a knee injury. He's out. Jamari Sawyer comes in at right tackle briefly, and then he gets injured. So now you're down to right tackle 4, right guard 3 when Mekhi Becton goes out of that game, which is Foster Sorrell, and still on left tackle 3.
But Zion Johnson is just plugging away.
Zion Johnson and Bradley Bozeman are just plugging away. And then, so then Jamari Sawyer is hurt. Trey Pipkins is hurt. That's when the Chargers signed Bobby Hart, who is now their 4th player to play right tackle this season. And so now you're on left tackle 3, left guard 1, center 1, right guard 1 most of the time, but sometimes right guard 3, and right tackle 4. And that's the lineup that goes out last week.
I'm just going to Google the ESPN pass rush or pass
it's
block.
It's
bad. Let's take a look. Pass block win rankings. We got Los Angeles, not San Diego. At 27th, that's not the worst.
It's not the worst, but it's not the worst because the Saints offensive line was worse at baseline and is also dealing with a number of injuries. The Bengals don't believe in offensive linemen.
Correct. They're number 32.
Right. And the Browns are on also, I think, their 3rd and 4th offensive tackles.
Yeah, and then the Houston Texans also did not take this seriously.
Right. The Houston Texans also don't believe that offensive line is a real position on the football field. So.
It's either trade 2 firsts for a guy or just nothing.
Right. Trade 2 firsts for a guy who you will then trade to a different team later.
Cool. Let's talk about the Chargers defense. Would you say best in the NFL over the last 2 weeks? Is that what I heard?
They're worst in the league since week 5 by EPA per play.
So why since week 5? Why is that an important demarcation for you?
Well, it's just the demarcation that Daniel Popper from The Athletic had.
Oh, okay, so there wasn't a significant
the
thing that happened.
Not necessarily, but also the first 3 weeks of the season, the Chargers were good. And then week 4, they lost to a team that I'm sure is a fine football outfit. But I do not recall who it was. It was, the Jackson Dart Giants. Yeah, sure. But that game was still pretty good from a defensive standpoint. They only gave up 21 points. Jackson Dart didn't really do anything. It was just sort of Cam Scatterbu running into a brick wall for 60 minutes.
Right. Which is what you want him to be doing. Yeah.
Right. That is actually enrichment for him. That is a sign that you have a healthy Cam Scatterbu, is that he is running into a brick wall for 60 minutes consecutively. If he's not doing that, you need to take him to the vet.
Right. Yeah. He's in distress. He only stops when he's distressed. Yeah.
Right. It's a stress response. Yeah. But yeah, so the last 3 weeks, I mean, it's the Commanders, the Dolphins, and the Colts. They get essentially blown out in the Commanders game. It's only 27-10, but like the game was never close, really. The Dolphins
was Jaden Daniels in that game? I genuinely don't know.
Yes, Jaden Daniels did play in that game, which was sort of what the problem was for the Chargers. And then, they play the game against the Dolphins, which should not have been the way that the game against the Dolphins went. They win by 2 points despite Tua throwing 3 interceptions. And then they get boat raced by the Colts. So,
that was a crazy game.
Yeah, that sucked. You know this, but like for anyone listening, like I was at a wedding on Saturday before that game on the other side of the state that I live in. And so I woke up early and skipped breakfast with all of my friends that went to my friend's wedding. It was 2 of my college, like very good friends that got married to one another. And so all of my friends from college were there. It was the first time I had seen most of them since the season started because like I'm busy doing this bullshit. And I skipped breakfast with them on Sunday morning so that I could drive 4.5 hours home to cover this Chargers Colts game. And I got there like 5 minutes after kickoff and the Colts had already scored. And the Chargers were also in the Piss Boy uniforms.
Right, that's right. Yeah. Oh right. My God.
So by like the second quarter, I was like, man, I probably would have loved having like chicken and waffles this morning. That probably would have been sick for me.
It also would have been great for the group chat because like there were some subplots available to us too. That's really unfortunate.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. I mean, there always are, right? Like there's there's always something going on. And so instead I went home and I covered that game. So that's cool. I think that was a good use of my time. And so, yeah, the Chargers defense has been bad the last 3 weeks. A lot of that, I mean, like, I don't want to continue sort of hammering the injury thing with the Chargers because, like, it is notable, obviously, at all facets of this team. Like, I think they have to be the most injured team in the league. I cannot think of a single team that is more injured than them currently at present. I think the Vikings had an argument at one point, but I think
I think a couple of weeks ago they did, but these guys are coming back, which is crazy.
Right, yeah. And like the Chargers are starting to get some guys back. Like Khalil Mack came back last week. Denzel Perryman is back. Joe Alt seems like he's going to play tomorrow. They're getting some of these guys back, but also like a lot of them are still dead. Like Najee Harris is out for the season. Omarion Hampton is out at least another 2 weeks. Like Elijah Molden has 15 screws in his thumb currently and is questionable to play.
That's right. Tomorrow. You sent in the group chat. You sent his brother was like competing with him for the number of screws in his hand or something like that.
It was his dad, but yeah. And the score for the record, the score was 15-2 in favor of Elijah Molden instead of his father Alex Molden, who also played for the Chargers.
Outstanding.
Yeah, and then like Deshaun Hand and Otito Ogbonnia are both on IR. There's not a single position on this Chargers team where like there is not a player that was expected to be a contributor that is like not on the field either due to injury or because like they have been a catastrophe. Because like wide receiver, like none of them are injured. Quentin Johnson did miss one game, but also like Keandre Lambert-Smith was like supposed to be a contributor, and is instead just like been sort of hanging out. Like tight end is healthy currently. Will Dissly did miss a couple of games, but also like Tyler Conklin is no longer playing on offense because he dropped like 4 passes in a row and didn't get lined up properly on like a fire drill 4th and 2 that was probably like not his fault, but it's a convenient scapegoat. And he's on a minimum deal anyway. So like, who cares?
Yeah. Vikings legend, Tyler Conklin. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, like the defense has not been great. I think a lot of that does have to do with the fact of just like, they're playing a lot more mobile quarterbacks, which is like not really what the Chargers defense wants to do because they're so like heavily oriented on running this pattern match zone that, so it looks like zone for the first half of the snap and then it kind of turns into man coverage as routes get into player zones. But when you have a quarterback that can extend plays the way that a Jaden Daniels or a Jackson Dart or even a Daniel Jones can, that starts to break down because essentially you are like asking all of the secondary to continue running in man coverage with receivers and thus vacate their zones, and then other players on the offense fill in that gap on the field and are open because the zone has been vacated because that player's on the other side of the field guarding whatever receiver ran the scramble drill. And so, like, a lot of it has to do with that. A lot of it has to do with the fact that, like, they can't get any pass rush. I mean, they traded for Odafe Owe to try to get some pass rush. Khalil Mack coming back will help get some pass rush, but, like, for the most part, they have not been able to affect the quarterback at all. And so, like, that has resulted in a higher time to throw, you know, where even if you do get pressure, then, like, you're not finishing sacks. And so, you know, once the time to throw gets up to like 3, 4, 5 seconds, that pattern match coverage starts to break down a little bit. You know, there's a lot of aspects to it, but also just like sometimes they're just like not doing anything correctly. Like Denzel Perryman and Derwin James are just like missing run fits sometimes, and it's weird. Like Deion Henley is missing run fits sometimes, and like nobody really knows what happened to him. Like it doesn't make any sense. But
possessed by the ghost of Kenneth Murray.
Yeah, it kind of seems like it, right? Like, it's weird because like Deion Henley was questionable for like the first like week 2 and week 3 because he had a sinus infection, and he played in both of those games despite having like a 100-degree fever in both of them, and he was like so good in both of them, like all pro level linebacker play in both games. And then his sinus infection got healed, and he like forgot how to fit the run.
So he has long sinus. Is that?
I guess.
Okay.
But like, I think that Bobby Hart probably has like some pretty strong opinions about like whatever medical treatment he got for that sinus infection and why it's affecting his ability to play football now.
And I bet he has some remedies that might be impacting.
Right. Yeah. I think actually that might be part of the problem is that Bobby Hart does have remedies on hand for such a thing.
All right, so there's no pass rush. The linebackers are all out of sorts. You've got one safety who's a legend, one safety who's injured, one safety who plays for the Ravens now. Tony Jefferson is a person. Yeah,
he's still out there. You know, the unction is going at all times. It's unction season at all times. He's been like pretty good, which is insane. First of all,
he's like 33.
Yeah, like he is like that's the thing is like he is younger than Keenan Allen. I'm almost certain, but like we're talking about him like he's 45, and like he's leaning into it. Like if you go to Tony Jefferson's Twitter, like he's reposting Chargers fans posting the unction meme every time he makes a play. Like. He loves it. He like it's great. He calls himself Unk. Like that.
Well, okay, but like also he retire for a second too. Like that's gotta be
so
part
he
of it.
retired and he was working as a scouting assistant for the Ravens. And then when Joe Ortiz got hired by the Chargers, he like took a look at the safety room. This was before they had Elijah Molden, and so it was really like Derwin James and Alohi Gilman, and then like a bunch of practice squad caliber guys, really, and. Basically, like, it sounds like essentially what happened is he called Tony Jefferson up and he was like, hey, man, do you want to just, like, come see if you still have it? Because Tony Jefferson is from San Diego. And so during training camp and stuff, like when they have training camp in Costa Mesa before the Bolt opened, like, it was, like, basically a homecoming for Tony Jefferson. And so he was like, hey, man, like, do you want to just, like, come home to California and, like, see if you still got it? And then, like, if not, like, we'll just give you, like, some, like, front office job like you had with the Ravens. And he was like, yeah, I guess. And then, like, he went out there and, like, didn't make the 53-man roster, but, like, pretty, like, strongly made the practice squad. And then, like, played in, like, significant snaps last year because all of the safeties kept getting injured. And now, like, he's playing well enough this season that, like, they were comfortable trading Alohi Gilman, who has been a starter for, like, 3 years for them.
And he's like pretty sharp too. Like he plays smart football.
Yeah, like Chargers fans were not really like super huge fans of Alohi Gilman because he's a very limited athlete, but like he has like the perfect mix of like safety traits where he's just like always around the ball. And so he's forcing like all of these clutch turnovers, and he's like always like at like right like on the forefront of all of these like swing plays for the Chargers. And they're comfortable trading him to the Ravens for a pass rusher that's playing 50% of the snaps through 2 games for them because like Tony Jefferson is playing pretty well.
So wild, man.
Which is insane. Like, I get, like, Alohi Gilman is a free agent after the season. Maybe you think you're not going to re-sign him. Like, his extension did come from a previous regime. Like, whatever, right? But also, like, you're trading him because Tony Jefferson is good now? Like, that's not a real... That's not how football works. That's not supposed to be possible.
Let's talk about these corners. Dante Jackson exists. I guess he's decent. Cam Hart, I thought was going to be better, but I guess he's not awful. Tariq Still, he's kind of got it right. Yeah,
Tariq Still is pretty sick. He got a Defensive Rookie of the Year vote last year. He has. I'm not going to hold it against him too much because like they were losing the game pretty badly and they were going to lose. But like he did make a couple of business decisions in run support against the Colts, which also like with that offensive line and also Jonathan Taylor, like I don't necessarily like really blame you that much for doing that because like I probably also wouldn't want to do that if it was me. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, like Tariq Still is like one of the best tackling corners in the league when he decides he wants to tackle, which is most of the time. And he's been pretty good in coverage. Like all of the Chargers DBs, both the corners and safeties have been really productive on the ball. Cam Hart is like a PBU machine, despite not really like showing up in any other area of the box score. Dante Jackson has been very, very good at the catch point. It's really just like for both players, it's really just been more of like, are you at the catch point when the ball is arriving?
We need you to get there. Yeah.
Right. And sometimes that's not true. And sometimes it is. And when it is, they're making pass breakups. Benjamin St-Juste has been like a pretty decent corner 4 who's like playing like a quarter of the snaps for them. He's gotten got a lot of ball production as well. He had an interception against the Dolphins on a route to Devon Achane for some reason. And so like all of the corners are like pretty good around the ball. It's just a matter of like whether or not they're going to be at the ball when the ball gets there. And so, like that's like a pretty good defense for the most part. But it kind of goes back to like
pass rush and linebackers.
Right. Yeah. Like it would probably help if like they could get pressure on a quarterback and force some more tight window throws. And it would probably help like if they stopped giving up like 6 yards a carry every time that they ran the ball through the B gap.
So Carson Wentz, who I know strikes fear into the hearts of opponents.
Of course.
He at one point was a reasonable athlete. Would we put him in the... It's really unfair to compare him to even Daniel Jones, right? Like Daniel Jones can really book it.
Yeah.
But you were talking about how some mobile quarterbacks extend plays and kind of stress the nature of pattern match defenses. Would we think of Carson Wentz as a guy who might do that?
I mean, I guess if you want, but like, I just like right before we started recording this, I was on our friend Tyler Fornes' show talking about this game also because Tyler also covers the Vikings. And so I'm pulling double duty because, I don't know, there's 2 Vikings fans in the group chat and 1 of every other fan.
Yeah, no, it was a really poor concentration decision group chat.
Yeah, which is Tyler's fault, to be clear, because he is the one that introduced
he brought me
to the group. But I was on his show and I was talking about how like, I think like if you're the Chargers, like even though Carson Wentz has been better at playing quarterback this season, I think you would rather see Carson Wentz than JJ McCarthy in this game.
Because of the mobility thing.
Right, because of the mobility thing. Because like JJ McCarthy has not like been good when we've seen him on an NFL field.
He's been catastrophically bad.
Right, but also like Jackson Dart has not been good when we've seen him on an NFL field either.
Okay, I'm glad that you said that because I was just on Heat the Call and I was like, man, I am not confident Jackson Dart is good because you like watch it and you're like, that's not working, and then they're like winning games and having fun, and it's like, well, I don't want to be too loud about saying they're not good because I like this, but what is this? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo are, like, a very fun storyline. I'm enjoying following them. But also, like, I don't think that Jackson Dart is playing particularly well.
Right.
I think they're just sort of, like, giving the other team CTE until the fourth quarter and then winning the game because the other team is compromised.
Okay, yeah, right, yeah. It's like Zach Bond got juked out of his shoes, and he's just thinking about that for the rest of the game.
Yeah, pretty much, right? Yeah. So like for that reason, right? Like we've seen like quarterbacks that are not necessarily playing very well at like an operational standpoint beat this Chargers team because like they can just extend the play and turn it into essentially a backyard football game, which is what I think Jackson Dart has been really good at doing, through his 4 games with the Giants so far.
Right.
And so in that sense, right, like I think if you're the Chargers, you would much rather see Wentz under center for the Vikings than McCarthy, because even though McCarthy has been bad, like catastrophically so, like you said, he has more in his toolbox to stress the Chargers defense on the back end than Wentz does. Wentz has been doing more vertical running, like you said, like at one point he was a good athlete. He's still like an okay athlete.
Right. It's like one of those where it's like because he hasn't had a ton of reps to play the past couple of years, he has not calibrated his body to how good of an athlete he actually is. So he keeps playing like he's a better athlete than he is, but he's still a pretty decent one.
Right. Yeah. And he's still like a fine enough athlete that like he can climb the pocket and scramble up the middle and get, 6-7 yards on those plays when it's available to him. But he's not really escaping the pocket laterally very much.
Or very well. I want to add that when that happens and then he throws the ball, it's a great roulette spin where that ball is going to end up.
Right. And so because of that, right, like I'm not as worried about Wentz like escaping the pocket laterally and making a throw downfield to like stress the pattern matched coverages that the Chargers want to run as much as I would be with McCarthy, even though McCarthy has been a worse overall football player this season. Mm-hmm. Because he's not doing it very well. If he is doing it, he's either he's not doing it as quickly either. And so, there's more opportunity there for like the Chargers to affect him behind the line of scrimmage because he's not as fast as Daniel Jones is. And so, there's a lot more where it's like, I think there's optimism from the Chargers side, right? Of like, if you're going to stick to this pattern match coverage, which is what the Chargers want to major in under Jesse Minter, then there's going to be a lot more opportunities to disrupt the rhythm of the Vikings offense with Wentz under center than maybe there has been the last couple of weeks as you face like Jaden Daniels and Daniel Jones and even like Bo Nix to an extent, Jackson Dart, right? And more than there would be like if you were facing JJ McCarthy this week.
Yeah. You mentioned these cornerbacks don't do a great job of maintaining proximity or staying in phase. I don't know, it just feels like crack for receivers like Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson, who are also very good at the catch point. So that should be a pretty, like when they do arrive at the catch point, should be a pretty fun contest. I've kept you pretty long, which is great because I dislike you. Right. Special teams notes. I mean, it's the Chargers, but I feel like we actually have good special teams now.
Yeah, the Chargers are really bad at the new kickoff, but otherwise, like everything is like
the Vikings
decent.
Yeah. So, okay, the thing is, like, so a bunch of teams have tried a bunch of different stuff with the new kickoff. You're a special teams nerd. Yes. Have the Vikings have tried a bunch of new stuff, and the problem is that it primarily hasn't been working, which is, I think, different than a team that isn't trying anything interesting or new. Where are the Chargers on that kind of like spectrum of trying stuff, not trying stuff?
I would say that they're probably like closer to the end of not really trying stuff. There was a clip that Steven had posted earlier this week. The Colts had an 81-yard kickoff return with Amir Abdullah on Sunday.
Let's go, Amir Abdullah.
Yeah, that kind of like destroyed the momentum that the Chargers had built. Like they just went down and scored a touchdown drive. They had made it like 27-10 or whatever the score was at that point, maybe 27-17. And they were like, feeling good. Like the drive had gone well. They had gotten a stop on the previous drive. And then Amir Abdullah just immediately returns it to like the opposing 19 and the Colts punch it.
By the way, Amir Abdullah broke into the open field with a full head of steam. And the only reason it wasn't a touchdown is because he, like all of these other guys that we've been discussing, is 33. I guess he's 32.
Right. And so like Jasir Taylor was able to chase him down from a depth of probably 50 yards because it is Amir Abdullah in the year 2025.
Yeah.
But a lot of the reason for why that happened is if you look at the play, Tuli Tuipulotu is on kickoff coverage because the Chargers waived Caleb Murphy in order to activate Khalil Mack and Denzel Perryman last week.
Caleb Murphy, edge rusher, who is not related to Gabe Murphy, right? That's Grayson Murphy I'm thinking of.
Correct. Yeah, okay, Gabe and Grayson Murphy are related. Caleb Murphy is from Ferris State, right. Which I took great pleasure in telling Eric Edholm at a restaurant in Mobile, Alabama, while we were watching the Shrine Bowl on TV one time.
Ideal.
And so Caleb Murphy gets waived. He's been their like number one special teamer up to that point that season. He gets claimed by the Patriots. He's no longer on the Chargers team, which is great. It's great roster building. They're doing a great job. So Tuli Tuipulotu is back on kickoff coverage, and he just sort of like vacates his gap in order to like take on a blocker. And that's what opens the hole for Amir Abdullah to, let's say, generously sprint down the sideline for 81 yards. And Steven posted this clip and he was like, yeah, you know, like I really hate having Tuli on kickoff coverage because like he's playing like 80% of the defensive snaps. He's their best edge rusher with Khalil Mack out. And Sam Schwartzstein, who invented this kickoff, was in Steven's replies. And he said, yeah, you know, all of the best kickoff returns, all of the huge kickoff returns have happened to teams that have a defensive lineman on kickoff coverage, which is a very traditional kickoff coverage.
What
unit,
an
right?
interesting observation to make.
Yeah. So like on the traditional kickoff, right? Like you would always have like a couple defensive linemen kind of just like on the perimeters of the field, just like, you know, because you need some bodies and like you kind of want to like vary the body type so that you have guys that can like take on blocks and, you know, like do whatever, right? And like take on some of these like tight ends that are blocking on kickoff return and everything. But with the new kickoff, because of the way that it's structured, like there's not really as much of an impact that defensive linemen can like impart onto the play because
there's space is so much more important.
Right. Space is so much important. And like the returner's already moving at full speed by the time they get to you. And so like players that are bigger and therefore most of the time slower, don't have as much value. And so the Chargers are doing that on kickoff coverage. And then on kick return, Darius Davis has been in and out of the lineup the last few weeks with a knee injury, but they have put him back there for the most part, who's like more of a traditional kick returner. He was an all-pro returner as a rookie in 2021, the Quentin Johnston year. And they've continued to stick him back there instead of like transitioning to more of like a running back there for the additional kickoff. They've also put Hassan Haskins back there, who runs like a 4.8 on purpose, despite, unlike all of the other players we've talked about, not being 33. He's like 28. But other teams have just been like, okay, well, if you're going to put Hassan Haskins back there, we're going to kick it at him and not let Darius Davis return the ball. And then Darius Davis gets injured. They put Amarian Hampton back there for a little bit, but then he gets injured. And so then they're putting like Keandre Lambert-Smith and Kamani Vidal back there for kick return. And like neither of those players are really like making an impact either. And now you have Nyheim Hines back there because he's RB2. And he's like okay at it because like he was a good kick returner before they changed the rule. And he's also a running back. So he's like a decent, you know, hole finder in the new kickoff. But they just haven't really been very effective returning the ball. And so, yeah, they're just like kind of like trying to like fit the traditional kickoff personnel into the new kickoff rules. And it has not been working for them.
Dope. Well, at least Cameron Dicker is he playing like the best kicker in the league right now?
He's the most accurate kicker of all time.
Right. But like, that's not the question I asked.
I mean, yeah, he still is the most accurate kicker of all time. Like he hasn't missed, which means that he will on Thursday. Now that I said that, but yeah, I mean, like he crossed the 100 attempt threshold earlier this season that he needed to become the most accurate kicker of all time. When he got to that 100th attempt, he could have made it or missed it, and he still would have been the most accurate kicker of all time. And he made it anyway. He's kicking from 59 yards out and drilling those. He is, I think, tied for the league lead in field goal attempts under 40 yards, which has helped the accuracy numbers a bit, obviously. But that's also just a function of like Jim Harbaugh doesn't go for it on fourth down. And so like it's 4th and 2 from the 13 and they're like, get Cameron Dicker out there. Let's boost those numbers, baby.
Yeah, his so I just looked it up. So Brendan Aubrey, who I probably regard as the best kicker in the NFL, but I mean, fair enough.
Yeah, I think that's probably correct.
3.5% accuracy boost over Brandon Aubrey in the all-time leaderboard, which no one is 3.5% above anybody else for the rest of this leaderboard. That's crazy.
Yeah, he's really good. But also, like, he has been. It's weird to be like he's a system kicker, but like,
that's such a Katson statement. I'm losing.
Yeah, but like kind of, right? Because like I said, like Jim Harbaugh is not very aggressive on fourth down. Obviously, like when Cameron Dicker gets in the league, their head coach is Brendan Staley, who is like notably aggressive on fourth down.
Well, before he became a coward, but yeah,
before he became a coward, which was so for the last 3 seasons, right? Cameron Dicker has just been like kicking a lot of stuff under 45, 40 yards. And so like that has boosted the accuracy numbers to an extent, but also like when you do extend him out beyond 50, like he still has plenty of leg and he is still like making those kicks at a very high clip.
Yeah. He was 9 for 11 from 50 plus last year and 11 for 12 from 40 to 49. Okay.
Yeah. So like he is like playing well. He's like a good kicker. He's one of like probably the best 5 kickers in the league.
Yeah.
But also like the fact that he is like so head and shoulders above everybody else on the percentage leaderboard is like a function of the quote unquote system that the Chargers are operating under.
It is nice that he surpassed both Justin Tucker and Harrison Butker for like reasons. That's good.
Yeah, because also like Cameron Dicker is cool as fuck.
That's so nice to have a good kicker who's good.
Yeah, Cameron Dicker is like Justin Herbert's like best friend on the team.
God, they're such nerds. God.
Yeah, which is hilarious. And like there was that clip during the off season where Cameron Dicker went on that Fox show with the guy who I think Jason McIntyre maybe.
Oh yeah.
And he was talking about how like him and Justin Herbert are just like hanging out and like we learned like way later, like months later, that like the colored contacts thing was actually because like Justin Herbert was testing them out in the sun to use as like eye protection.
But Cameron Dicker's story was like he was like scaring kids.
Right. So the story was that like Cameron Dicker and Justin Herbert were wearing like red colored contacts out in the community in Los Angeles after training camp practices and OTAs and like going to Salt and Straw. And like children were afraid of them. Because they had like red eye contacts in. And then it turned out like we learned in training camp that like Herbert was wearing them at practice because like they were protecting his eyes from the sun. And not just like they were doing that for fun, which is what Cameron Dicker made it sound like they were doing.
That's great. Good bit.
And then also part of this too is that then like there was a part of this afterwards where then like we started getting the paparazzi pictures of Justin Herbert hanging out with Madison Beer. And then it was like, it did become unclear whether or not Madison Beer was present for Justin Herbert and Cameron Dicker scaring children at a Salt and Straw in the Los Angeles area. In which case, like, I do have some questions about like why that was the focus of the afternoon and not the fact that like Madison Beer was at the Salt and Straw. But like, I would imagine that like it's probably a big enough Salt and Straw that like both things could have been true. That like some of the people were like really like holy shit, Madison Beer is here.
Can you tell us what a Salt and Straw is?
Salt and Straw is a fancy ice cream place that influencers in Los Angeles go to. They have weird ice cream flavors that sound like juice shots that you would get at a luxury grocery store.
Like a wheatgrass? They got a wheatgrass flavor?
I'm almost positive that they have a wheatgrass flavor. Let's look at the current Salt and Straw.
Yeah,
flavor.
Actually, no. Yeah, let's do this.
Salt and Straw. Let's see. There is one near me, relatively speaking. Our flavors.
Great Candy Copia, Jack-o'-lantern, pumpkin bread. So we got like a Halloween theme right now, so we're not going to get...
Yeah, right now. So like right now, they have a cinnamon ancho ice cream that's in a waffle cone taco. It's called the Taco-Lut, like chocolate, but taco.
I would demolish that. That sounds so good.
They have a mango jalapeno sauce that goes on it and a wild berry cinnamon sauce that goes on it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I'm sold.
Monthly menu series. They got gummy worms and green matcha ice cream.
Okay.
They've got Essence of Ghost, which is a haunting combination of scotch-infused sherbet and dark chocolate ice cream.
Okay, I can see how that would appeal to a lot of people. Not for me, but I get it.
Right, yeah. And then, like, they do have, like, some standard flavors and everything. You know, like, if you go to the best sellers, it's, like, chocolate brownie and, like, chocolate cookie dough and caramel and
Dude,
all
they've
that
got an
sort of shit.
olive oil. Have you ever had olive oil ice cream? Shockingly good.
So, actually, that's the one that I was thinking of. Is Salt and Straw is famous for having the olive oil ice cream.
Yeah, I've had an olive oil ice cream because, like, I was in Italy and they have gelato, and of course an Italian is like, we should put olive oil in this.
Right, that does stand to reason. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and it was delicious. I was like, this can't be right, man. So okay, sure. We got some stuff. Pear and blue cheese. That's another one.
Yep.
Okay.
Marionberry goat cheese Marionberry habanero.
Oh my god. Okay, yeah, that I would. Okay, I assume the prices are outrageous, but if they weren't, I would definitely just try some flavors for the hell of it, just because. Why not?
Caramelized turkey and cranberry sauce.
Nope.
Bone marrow and smoked cherries.
100% would try that.
Buttermilk pancake bacon and eggs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, I would try that.
They got a chocolate caramel potato chip cupcake.
Have you had chocolate covered potato chips?
Have you had the Reese's that has the potato chips in them?
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Incredible innovations in candy technology.
Yeah, it's crazy. Salt and Straw is kind of at the forefront of that. They're doing whatever the hell that is. They got a guava and cheese. They're just sort of.
I mean, it's like
they're just sort of doing whatever.
It's like a cheese board. I get it. Okay. Sure. So they were at a Salt and Straw scaring kids, and then Madison Beer may or may not have been at the same Salt and Straw at the same time.
Right. Now unclear if Madison Beer was there or not, because like
okay, so why is that even a question? Like, why would that? How is it that she entered the equation into our understanding of this experience?
Because one of the reasons that we found out that Madison Beer was dating Justin Herbert is that Madison Beer follows Cameron Dicker's fiance on Instagram. So, like, Madison Beer does know who Cameron Dicker is at the very minimum.
Right.
Because, again, Cameron Dicker is Justin Herbert's best friend on the team.
Right.
It's also hilarious because now, like, Justin Herbert is being photographed going to, like, all of these, like, underground LA influencer parties. And, like, Cameron Dicker is usually with him, and he looks so doofy. Like, they're, like, they're dressed, like, very nice because they're at an influencer party and everything. And, like, Joe Alt and Trey Pipkins are also there. And they look like security detail because they're large. And Cameron Dicker is also there. And he sort of, like, looks like he's going to prom. And it's awesome.
It's like when you make it and you got the one homie that you always said you got his back, so now he's there.
Right, yeah. Cameron Dicker is sort of like we always said if we made it that, like, I'd bring you to the top with me, brother. Like, like, all right, dude, we made it. Now you're, now, like,
all right, turtle. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm gonna hire you as my executive assistant now that I'm an A-lister, and like LeBron James has all those guys that like he played high school basketball with that are like on his staff now.
Yeah,
it's a lot like that, except that Cameron Dicker is also like on the football team.
And he's also an elite player at his position.
Right, he's also like so good at being on the football team.
It's so funny seeing Justin Herbert having to navigate the LA influencer scene. That's like, there's no way he would have imagined that coming out of college.
No, it's very funny. Like, I mean, as soon as it happened, pretty much everybody that pays attention to the Chargers are like, "Are you sure
that guy?"
Like I don't question his ability in that regard. It's just sort of like I didn't think that was like a thought that crossed his mind ever.
I'm so glad I asked about special teams. What's the line on this game?
Great question. Who fucking knows? Let's see. My emoji keyboard is open now. I can't.
Perfect.
I can't
Chargers 3.5.
yeah,
Opened at
that
3.
that seems reasonable. I think like I would probably pick the push at 3. At 3.5, it's hard because, which I guess is why Vegas gets paid to do their jobs.
Right.
Because, like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, you look at these two franchises just, like, historically speaking, and then also add in the fact that, like, it's a Thursday night football game and that neither team has, like, most of their players healthy. And, like, I don't think there's any way that this isn't a one-possession game.
Yeah, it's a very, very stupid game. It's very stupid coded. Vikings really good at one-possession games. I mean, not this year so far, but, like, historically, you know?
Carson Wentz is also notably 7-0 on Thursday Night Football in his career. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't. I'm sure Vikings PR has, like, emailed me that stat, and I just haven't looked at it.
Yeah. So, like, you know, the Chargers do have to go up against that. The Vikings have also alternated wins and losses this season, which does mean that they are due to win this game. So it's a really bad week to be, like, in AI model, I guess, right? Because like it's a bad week to be like really invested and like beholden to like pattern recognition. And so in that sense, like if you asked like ChatGPT, I'm sure that they would tell you that the Vikings are going to win because of like the large language model identifying these two patterns.
I'm going to ask both ChatGPT and Sumer Brain. Hold on.
We can cut this, but is that not the same thing twice?
We're not cutting that. No, but it is the same thing twice.
Cool. Just making sure.
Well, technically, I'm asking the ChatGPT 5 thinking model, and the Sumer Brain model, as far as we can tell, is a ChatGPT 4 implementation.
Okay. Yeah, that seems different enough to me.
Yeah. Who is going to win this week on Thursday? You got to be very specific with these models. Night football.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're just asking it who's going to win on Thursday night, it will probably say like the Rams.
We'll ask that one next, actually. Between the Vikings and the Chargers for week 8 of the 2025 NFL season.
With the knowledge that Carson Wentz is playing in the game and starting at quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings and not the Los Angeles Chargers.
All right. ChatGPT is on the thinking model because I wanted to waste as many tokens as possible because that gives me joy. And now we're going to ask...
Arif hates the environment. You heard it here on
You heard it here first. And then we're asking Sumer Brain... Okay, analyzing sports predictions. I'll avoid offering gambling. I'll consider using a calculator tool. Okay, they got the NFL schedule up. That's great. Thank you, ChatGPT.
Nice. Good stuff. Happy for them.
Short answer, I'd lean Chargers. My pick, Chargers win about 62 to 65%, something like 24-20. Okay, they did just do the over-under and money line, I think, which is sophisticated for them. I will give you that.
Can you ask it again? Like, can you feed it the two patterns that we just mentioned and see if it changes its mind?
Okay, yeah. So the two patterns, the Vikings have alternated wins and losses this year and also will be starting Carson Wentz, who is undefeated in Thursday night football play. Should I ask, does this change your...
Yeah, does this change your opinion about the outcome of the game?
Of the outcome of the game. This is great. This is good content.
Yeah, this is great podcasting when no one can see the screen that you're typing this query into.
All right, so while ChatGPT is thinking about that, Sumer Brain has told us the schedule. God, gee, come on. Okay.
Hell yeah, brother.
The Minnesota Vikings are set to face the Los Angeles Chargers on Thursday, October 23rd, 2025. Sure, at 5:15 p.m.
Good so far.
Pacific Standard Time, Pacific Daily Time.
That's correct, I guess.
The game will take place at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. Thank you.
So true.
I super appreciate that. As of October 22nd, 2025, the Los Angeles Chargers are favored to win with a point spread. They're just taking the point spread data, which is the way you should probably do this, but it is annoying.
Right. Sure.
They don't actually tell me who's going to win. They just gave me the money line, the weather forecast,
Naturally.
About the team.
Which, of course, does matter because SoFi Stadium is notably not indoors.
Both teams have good receiving cores. For the most up-to-date information on team rosters, player performance, and last-minute changes, it is advisable to consult official team websites or reputable sports news outlets. Is that not what you are?
I mean,
I think it wants to maintain the fiction, right?
Right. Yeah, I think that they would like to present it as such. So that's tough for it. I'm sorry that Sumer Brain is having self-confidence issues.
Are you not a reputable sports news information source? Tell me who is going to win the game. There we go.
Right.
All right, back to ChatGPT 5, now being fed in information about these two patterns. Short answer, it does nudge me a bit towards Minnesota keeping it close. But I'm still picking the Chargers to win just by less. Call it Chargers 58-60%, something like 23-21. They just reduced the over-under by like 1.
Yeah. Instead of 24-20, it will now be 23-21.
Why it doesn't flip my pick. Wentz is starting it has indeed been excellent on Thursdays, listed as 7-0 on Thursday Night Football. ChatGPT 5.0 thinking model is kind of nailing it right now.
Yeah, I mean, they did get the stat correct.
Yeah, that's a good for you, bud. That's a real positive for Minnesota, but it's also a tiny multi-team, multi-year sample. Useful signal, not destiny. Okay, we got the classic ChatGPT language pattern here with the M dash, by the way.
Of course. But also, like, that is like the proper way to think about it. I'm glad that it is like
that's
a smidge of reasoning ability.
That's growth. Yeah, the Vikings have alternated wins and losses through week 7, so in every other trend exists, but trends like that aren't predictive by themselves. Look at that. Markets still lean Chargers, implying LA as the favorite. How often are the Chargers referred to just as LA?
I do it pretty frequently in my articles, but that's also because like I have to make reference to the team like multiple times every time I write an article. So I have to kind of switch up between like the Chargers, Los Angeles, and LA.
You never use the Bolts?
I do sometimes. It's definitely the lowest in the rotation there, but I'll break it out sometimes when I'm feeling frisky.
Feeling zesty with it. Implying LA is the favorite at home on the short week, even with Wentz in. I respect that signal, so I keep LA at a slight edge. Health/context. Oh my God. Wentz is going, but he's dealt with a shoulder issue on a short week. Meanwhile, ChatGPT 4 could not do any of this. I mean, I've been keeping up to date with all the tech bros being mad about the switch to ChatGPT 5, and I am using the thinking model as opposed to the automatic model, which is taking up all of my tokens, but that's fine. But yeah, meanwhile, the Chargers OL has questions to net effect, closer game, not a swing. Incredible. Bottom line, Wentz's Thursday Night Football streak plus the Vikings pattern tighten the spread, in my opinion. I would take the Vikings plus 3.5. That's gambling advice. They gave you gambling advice. This is financial advice provided by ChatGPT.
We didn't even ask them for that. We just asked who was going to win. Yeah.
Okay. Sumer Brain did not respond to my question. It gave me literally like a no text, not even a bubble because they don't do bubbles, but it would be a bubble with no text in it, and then a thumbs up, thumbs down for feedback.
Hell yeah, dude.
I'm going to give you a thumbs up for not saying anything and a thumbs down.
We want to reinforce that behavior.
Yeah, right, yeah. And a thumbs down for using DraftKings to write your blurb for you.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
Yeah, harmful or offensive. Send. Okay. They didn't answer again? Incredible.
This rules.
Tell me who's going to win the game on Thursday. I'm going to change the prompt a little bit.
Yeah.
On Thursday night this week. Come on. Because like the deal with Sumer Brain is that so like ChatGPT 4 Fast and stuff like that is that they don't update their access to information, and so they don't like actively search the web. ChatGPT 5 Thinking does that, but Sumer Brain like should just do. Okay, they have also refused to answer one more time. Okay, well I'm just going to open up a new chat. And then just add be definitive. Be definitive. There we go. Who's going to win the game on Thursday Night Football between the Vikings and the Chargers for Week 8 on 2025 NFL season? Be definitive. And then maybe we won't get a DraftKings blurb instead. I can't believe you just refused to answer me 3 times. At least tell me. I did give it a couple of thumbs ups.
Do you think that your user profile is flagged because of the article that you wrote?
Maybe I could just log into a new user profile, though. I'll do that.
That's true.
Because it's not like... Because you could just use any Google account, right? And I've got like 18 of them.
Yeah, why do you have those?
Don't worry about it.
Let's get into that.
I think it's pretty obvious why a reporter would have multiple Google accounts, right? In case, for example,
Gary is going to love this.
Okay, this time it pulled it from CBSSportsandChargers.com.
Okay, that's better.
Yeah. Information about the game. Chargers entered the game with a 4-3 record, having recently lost to the Indianapolis Colts. That's true. You should remind us of that. Vikings stand at 3-3 after losing. According to CBS Sports, the Chargers are favored by 3.5 points. Okay. They said the Chargers are the likely victors in this matchup. So they gave us something close to definitive.
Okay.
Yeah. So
do you think this leads me to another question, which we can explore off air, but do you think that if you ask the AI models, they will just take the favorites via the spread every time?
Almost certainly. Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like that because that's the only information that they really have.
Yeah, I'm going to open a new chat with ChatGPT. Let's see, a legacy model of ChatGPT 4.0 and see what it does. Because 4.0 I still think can search. That was so fast. Not as interesting, though. Oh, give me a detailed score prediction and some key player props to watch? Yes, please.
Oh, yeah. Gambling advice? Let's go.
Yeah, you already gave me some. So Vikings plus 3.5. And yeah, they expect the Chargers to win by 3 points. So by 3 points. So take the Vikings 3.5. They did not put a space in between Justin and Herbert in the name. So Justin Herbert. Keenan Allen, anytime touchdown scorer is a good target. Jordan Addison should see plenty of targets in the Minnesota passing game under duress. Over 51.5 receiving yards is a reasonable prop. That's aggressive. Jordan Mason, anytime touchdown is interesting because the Chargers' rush defense has been vulnerable. Look at that.
That is true.
Quarterback.
Maybe AI is going to take our jobs.
Yeah, we're cooked, man. Once it learns how to stop using M dashes, we're cooked.
I mean, have you learned how to stop using M dashes?
No, but like don't worry about that.
No, the way that I use M dashes is fine and human, actually. So you shouldn't worry about that. Yeah. You should only worry about when the robot does it in a robot
their
way.
M dashes are cold and calculating.
Yeah.
I can't believe we finished with an ad for AI. That's so good, dude.
We've done it again.
This is going to be hosted at Wide Left. That's the best part. All right. Where can people find you, dude?
Yeah, I'm the chief operating officer of Wide Left, your media company. So you can find me there ostensibly. I am the main contributor over at Chargers Wire, which does not mean that I'm in charge, but it does mean I write a lot of stuff about the Chargers. So I'm there. I'm on the beat for the University of Washington Huskies program. I write about football and basketball over there. I am also the owner of footballsheets.com, which is where I host all of my database stuff. So if you're familiar with my name, but you haven't been keeping up with what I've been doing, that's the spreadsheets that used to be on Google Drive and then used to be on Patreon and now are on a separate website that is hosted via Substack and then a database platform. I also do draft content on the Guilty as Charged podcast, focusing on the Chargers. That's a lot of stuff. The easiest way to find it is probably just to go either to my Twitter account or to my website, which is just alexkatson.com, and it will direct you to all of those things from there.
What's your Twitter? You got to plug what the Twitter account is.
My Twitter account is also just at Alex Katson.
There you go.
I'm the only person in the entire world that has my combination of first and last name. So all of my usernames on every platform are just my name put together.
Also makes them easy to find on like LinkedIn. So check him out there.
That is true. That is true. Yeah, check me out on LinkedIn. I'm posting all my Wide Left articles on there.
All right,
that is actually a true fact. They're doing really well over there.
Wait, are you kidding?
No, I'm serious. I do post all of my wide left pieces on LinkedIn.
That's so funny, dude.
Well, because like, how else is my mom going to see them?
Your mom only follows you on LinkedIn?
My mom doesn't have other social media platforms.
I suppose there is a world where like there are people who only have one social media platform, and that one is LinkedIn. I just hadn't considered it.
The options are either like I post the articles on LinkedIn or I post them on Facebook. Like those are my two choices in order to get them to like my parents.
You always just email them.
Yeah, I guess, but like I don't know. That feels more formal than posting. No, yeah,
that does feel very stupid. My dad is subscribed to Wide Left, and the only one he ever responded to, he called me. He was like, "Hey, so I see you're raising your prices," and I was like, "Do you want a free subscription? You're my dad."
That's awesome. Did he say yes? Did you give him one?
No, he said he didn't want to do that because it felt like favoritism, and I was like, "That's not what that word means," but it's fine.
But like whatever. I mean, my mom might be a subscriber to Wide Left. I don't know because I don't have access to the data. But like she might be a subscriber. I'm not really sure.
Well, once we change the prices again, maybe she'll call you.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe like she'll, click into this podcast because she sees that my name is on it, and then she'll text me and be like, I am subscribed. I got this in my email.
Why do you keep posting on LinkedIn?
Yeah, like, I don't know. Yeah, also just like a lot of my friends like don't use Instagram anymore, and so like some of my friends are only reacting to my content on LinkedIn.
That's wild. I don't think I could maintain friendships with people who are only on LinkedIn.
I am friends with a lot of software engineers, and so
that makes sense.
I gotta do what I can.
I hope they listen to the AI portion of this episode.
Oh, I'm sure they will. I'm gonna quiz them on their takeaways from the model.
Excellent. All right, man. This is great. Peace out.
See ya.
Norse Code is the largest and only division of Norse Code LLC. You can find Norse Code on the Daily Norseman, SB Nation's Vikings blog at dailynorseman.com. You can also find it on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, and wherever fine podcasts are aggregated. Our Vikings blogger extraordinaire and generally useful human is Arif Hassan of... and he can be found on Twitter at Arif Hassan NFL. I am your producer and host, and my name is James Pagashnik. You can find me at the show's official Twitter feed at NorseCodeDN or at my personal account at Big Mono. If you'd like to donate a few bucks to the show, you can do so in a couple of different ways. You can go to patreon.com/NorseCode and donate there. For $3.50 a month, you get bonus material and more. You can also go to paypal.me/NorseCode for a one-time donation, or you can go to norsecode.threadless.com and pick up some Norse Code merch. Any questions or comments that cannot fit in a tweet can be sent to norsecodepodcast@gmail.com. On behalf of the Norse Code staff, we thank you so much for listening.
Our formula is this.
All things are possible through the power of Ben DiNucci.